Hi everyone! In my previous video I talked about some of the events, the part of Korean history that would set the stage for the emergence of Korean ethnic nationalism. Today I would like to talk about the founder of Korean nationalist history writing, this history writing we shall call historiography, and the importance of Manchuria to him. First, however, I'm going to give a bit more background. Also, I am aware of the state of my face. I should be getting medications for my skin, so I hope it will improve in a few days. Thank you for your patience. Being colonized by Japan, a nation and people that Koreans considered to be inferior, was a great humiliation to both Korea and, by extension, China. The Chinese name for China, Zhongguo, literally translates as the middle country or the middle kingdom. And for centuries it was, having influenced many of the cultures and languages of East Asia. In fact, quite a few Korean words are derived from Chinese. As I mentioned in my previous video, Korea, or Chosun as it was called back then, was heavily dependent on China in its status as a tributary state. China was considered the pinnacle of civilization by Chosun and many other surrounding countries. And at some point in time, after foreign invasions of China, I believe it was the Mongol invasions, but I have to look that up, Korea considered itself the only country to be holding up true Neo-Confucian values, which had first been introduced in China. I will be going into Neo-Confucianism in a different video. Before the Japanese colonization of Korea, territory and cultural identity were considered isomorphic. According to Merriam-Webster, isomorphic means being of identical or similar form, shape, or structure. In this case, it means that if you lived in Korea, you were Korean, period. However, during the era of Japanese occupation, many Koreans moved to the United States, Russia, and even to Japan itself. In other words, it was difficult to consider territory and cultural identity as isomorphic when the native population of Korea was displaced from the homeland due to an alien regime. This is where Chaeho, the founder of Korean nationalist historiography, comes in. Shin was born in 1980, 30 years before the Japanese colonization. He focused primarily on Manchuria as the birthplace of the Korean people. And I'll take a diversion here. From about 57 BC to 668 AD, the Korean peninsula consisted of three major kingdoms, Shilla, Baekje, and Goguryeo. That last one, the northern kingdom of Goguryeo, was the largest of the three kingdoms and encompassed much of what is today Manchuria in China. In my video on the Korean origin myth, I erroneously referred to Tangun's birthplace as Mount Taebaek. This should be Mount Baekdu, which is a mountain in the same range as Mount Taebaek. Goguryeo encompassed the area that mountain is in as well. If you remember, Mount Baekdu is the birthplace of the mythical progenitor and first king of the Korean people, as I mentioned before, Tangun. Therefore, by Shin's logic, Manchuria has always been Korean and should belong to the Korean people. Should Goguryeo be considered Chinese or Korean? Should Manchuria historically be seen as part of Korea? These are arguments between China and both Koreas that continue even today. In fact, I'm pretty sure the very first article I had to read for my major was lengthy and not very good argument as to why Manchuria should be considered historically Korean. Anyway, one of the two smaller kingdoms, Shilla, was the most advanced of the three in terms of technology and culture, and even had trade relationships with Persia. I will be recording a video on this too, so please stay tuned. It was a general from Shilla, Kim Yu-shin, who united the three kingdoms. Today, Shilla is considered the source kingdom of many Korean traditions and aspects of the two countries' cultures. Yet, Shin Chaeho insisted on emphasizing Goguryeo as the true source of Korean tradition, as that kingdom was independent from other countries in terms of economy and culture, allegedly. Does this sound familiar? Well, this is what English language publications like to, this kind of independence and self-reliance is what English language publications like to refer to as juche, a word which supposedly encapsulates North Korea's official state ideology. However, as I said in a previous video, the word juche doesn't actually mean anything. It's a derivative of the Japanese shutai, which in turn was taken from the German subject or subject. So I think I'll leave it here for today. I'll see you in the next video, and if you have questions, feel free to ask me through Twitter. Bye!